Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Editorial. As a lot of you all told me, it's been a long time I have not spoken politics. So let's talk some politics. I've got a very interesting subject today. And the question that I want to ask tonight is BJP a Hindutva party? Let's deep dive into this. Let's talk about it. That's my topic number one, and I've got a short topic as usual in the end of my editorial, and that is about Hindi. Amit Shah says that Prime Minister of India go in foreign countries and speak in Hindi. So why are you embarrassed? Let's discuss that too. Let's get right into the show. Now, Bharatiya Janata Party has two distinctive strategies. In fact, both the strategies are also interlinked. If you look at Bharatiya Janata Party's strategy, especially after 2014 till date, Bharatiya Janata Party, the first thing they do is they polarize the constituency that they are seeking votes. They polarize it. That's the strategy number one. The strategy number two is at times through that polarization or at times standalone, they create an enemy. So you have two strategies, like I said, polarization, that is communalizing the place, and creating an enemy. Let us take the example of Delhi elections. They polarized the place, Goli Maro and all of that happened. And they also created an enemy. The enemy was Tukde Tukde gang. The enemy was anti-national. The enemy was Shaheen Bagh. So they created clear enemies. So polarizing enemies. Let us take what is happening in Uttar Pradesh right now. The Abbajan comment that the current Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister made, that people who could call Abbajan would get ration and other people wouldn't get ration, so on and so forth. So polarization and creating enemies. Distinctively clear ways of Bharatiya Janata Party, clear two strategy of Bharatiya Janata Party fighting their elections. Okay. Now you would ask me, your question was, is Bharatiya Janata Party Hindutva? And I just said that they polarize. That's the difference. Now, polarization doesn't necessarily mean that you are appeasing Hindu alone. Polarization is dividing the voters. It doesn't necessarily mean it is only Hindus that they are trying to protect or they are trying to talk for. Let me give you an example. In 2014, Mr. Amit Shah in 2014 had made a statement. Wherever there is BJP government, we will consider sentiments of the people before imposing ban on beef. He said, we have not said that we are banning beef across the country. So Mr. Shah was very clear that wherever there is BJP government, we will first check the sentiments, Baba. Only then we will ban the beef. Otherwise, we are not going to ban the beef. So did they ban the beef in Goa? No, they didn't. Did they ban the beef in northeastern states where they are present? No, they haven't. So banning of beef was very particular to possibly northern states where the sentiments of Gau Mata was more, and where the sentiments were not all that happening, they were not. So if a Hindutva party would have been in place, Hindutva party would have seen it is banned in Kashmir, it is banned in Kanyakumari, correct? So that would be a proper Hindutva party, but here no, it was not banned in places. In fact, on March 2017, Nagaland BJP chief, he spoke to the Hindustan Times and said that ban on cow slaughter like the one in Uttar Pradesh won't affect in Nagaland. If our party comes to power next year, he said very clear, it won't affect in Nagaland. The reality here is very different and our center leaders are aware of it. Reality here is different. Either Hindutva nahi chalega, to either Hindutva practice nahi karega, no problem, he said. The third point I wanted to make is in Kerala, there is a situation that's happening. The situation is Congress is decaying in Kerala. Congress is decaying in Kerala, and all of a sudden, the people who the communities who used to support Congress, especially the Christian community who used to support Congress, today feels a little threatened. Because Christian community normally, historically, has never supported the communist in Kerala. So all of a sudden the Christian community is being isolated. They want a party to be associated with. And that party is not Congress anymore, is because Congress is decaying, like I said. So what really happened was, there was this statement that about narcotic jihad and love jihad and all, that was made by a bishop in Palai in Kerala. There's a place called Palai in Kerala. He made this statement there, and all of a sudden the party who called Christians converters and Christians rice bag and Christians, associated with the Vatican and all that, the president of the same party had this to say. Mr. K. Surendran, who is the head of Bharatiya Janata Party in Kerala, said that the party would not stand as a mute spectator to attempts to intimidate the bishop. He said, also highlighted the need of a society to debate on the subject. What subject? Narcotics jihad and love jihad. He said, what the bishop has said is a relevant issue and the BJP does not want to cash in on it politically. At the same time, we will not stand as a silent spectator if a few goons from Iratupura, that is a place this happened, stage protest in Palai. They said a protest allow nahi karega bishop ke against. Baba, bishop hai. So all of a sudden, Bharatiya Janata Party said, bishop, how dare you, Baba? How dare are you questioning the bishop? So priorities changed. Hindutva, conversion, Vatican, gone. So the point that I'm saying is, I still maintain, I still say what I said before. Bharatiya Janata Party as a strategy use communalization and creating enemies, two definite strategies. I still say that. But all I say is Bharatiya Janata Party's communalization and polarization are selective. Selective based on the state, selective based on the opportunity that they get in that particular state, and based also on the majority in that state. Their communalization is strategic. So therefore, I ask this question. Is BJP genuinely a Hindutva party? My point number two, this is a warning sign for Congress. This is a warning sign. Congress party is decaying. If they don't react now, then they need not react, because there will be nothing left to react. Two states where Congress could have revived. One state where they were already in power, that is Punjab, and the second state is Kerala, where they were still strong. They would have revived. It seems both the places, they are going down. They are decaying. So the fact remains that people, communities who are, or vote banks, if I may call it that way, vote banks which were completely with Congress, are moving away from Congress. If this doesn't scare Congress, and if this doesn't make Congress think of a new strategy, Congress will be a party of the past. It has almost reached there. Let's go to our next topic. Amit Shah, our Honorable Home Minister, made a statement today. He said, Prime Minister goes and speaks Hindi across the globe. He goes to in different countries outside of India and speaks Hindi. So why are you embarrassed to speak Hindi? Kya problem hai Hindi bolne mein? Acha. You know what is the problem? The problem is nobody is embarrassed to speak Hindi. Nobody is embarrassed to speak Hindi. The problem is a lot of South Indians do not know Hindi. A lot of South Indians have not studied Hindi. Therefore, a lot of South Indians do not speak Hindi. You know what the problem is? A lot of South Indians gets hurt when you tell them, and not only South Indians, a lot of people who are not from the Hindi speaking belt feels hurt when they say, no, you have to speak Hindi. Why this compulsion? You know, the biggest part of India is India is not known for its unity. India is not great because of its unity. India is great because of its diversity. India is great because of the kind of languages they have, the kind of religions we have, the kind of rituals we have, the kind of castes we have, the kind of lifestyles that we practice. We are so different as people, and yet we proudly call ourselves Indian. Our founding fathers, when they made India, they didn't say that, "Arey, sab ek hi hona chahiye. One voting day, one festival, one language." They didn't say all that. They promoted language. Let me tell you what I mean by that. You see, the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India has made 22 languages as official languages, and they promote and encourage these 22 languages in India. 22 languages. In fact, the census of 2001 says that we have 122 major languages and 1,599 other languages. More importantly, nowhere in our constitution or nowhere in our rule book or law have we given the status of a national language to Hindi. Nowhere. Why? Because we knew that this country is not about one language. This country is about multiple languages, multiple cultures, multiple religion, multiple caste, multiple everything. The fact that our entire oneness is about our diversity. I speak Hindi. I love to read Hindi, though I am not very fluent at that, but I love to read Hindi poetries also. But that's my wish. Why are you forcing Hindi on me? Why should you force Hindi on anybody? They are mandatory. It's mandatory for them, I think, to learn the language, their mother tongue. That possibly is mandatory for them. And possibly, I would say it is also mandatory, it should be mandatory to learn the language of the state you are residing in. End of story. And if both those languages are the same, good for you. Both those languages are not same, then you learn one more language. You learn the language of the state which you reside in. So if I reside in Maharashtra, I know Marathi very well. Because that's the state I am saying in. This is my state. So I know the language of the state. Well, except for that, what other language I learned, whether I learn English, whether I learn Hindi, or whether I learn both, or whether I decide to learn Sanskrit, is my choice. Is my choice. And the worst thing is when you link Hindi with being a nationalist. This is when a political strategy comes in. We are Hindi speaking, he doesn't speak Hindi, so he's out. Because the language of nationalism is Hindi. This is where things go wrong. There is no national language. Like I said, that's a misconception. Hindi is not our national language. There are 22 languages which are official language. So the moment you mix nationality with Hindi, that's where you push a lot of people away from Hindi. Because then you're catching them by their ears and making them say, learn Hindi if you want to be Indian. That may not really work. Before I end my show, we require your assistance. We require your subscription. It's imperative we have your subscription because we need your subscription for us to survive. So please do subscribe to our channel. Log in to our website www.hwnews.in and do subscribe to our channel, is because that's the only way I can continue and we can continue to speak fearlessly and without any favors. Till I see you next time. Namaskar.